So welcome to week 5's lecture. In this week, we will be discussing about the second operations management decision, that's the quality. So we have seen that there could be multiple ways in which operations management can add value to the company. In the last week, we discussed about the product design. In this week, we are entering into the second decision, which is quality management. So the different learning objectives are as follows. First, we will be defining quality and total quality management. Then we will be describing about the different standards which you might have possibly heard already, the different ISO standards. We will also try to understand what's the relationship between quality and competitiveness. We will also describe the modern quality management techniques used by the companies. We will also introduce how quality should be measured in service organizations. So now we will start our definition of quality. You guys might remember I mentioned in the last week or the week before that. So quality is always a subjective concept. It is based on the perception of the customer. So when you go to Dollarama and purchase an item, you are spending only $4 say for buying that item. So the expectation which you will be having will be different from the case when you are buying a mobile phone from say Apple. So when you are purchasing a mobile phone for $1,000, your expectations are going to be different. So this should always be kept in mind when you learn about quality. So the point is the totality of all the features and the characteristics that the product is going to bear, and its ability to satisfy the stated or implied needs could be referred to as quality. It is based on the perception of the customer. This is very important. Now, the needs are the key words in it. So whose needs we should always be trying to understand. It's always the needs of the customer. It shouldn't be the needs of the manager that should be looked at. So the consistency in understanding quality is very important. Now, going on to the next topic, which is the impact of quality. We have seen the various strategies which could be adopted by the organizations: differentiation, low cost, and response strategies. Now, quality has a very impactful role in all the strategies. So be it in any organization, quality techniques that we study in this chapter can be applied. Now, if you create a product which is of a good quality, then the reputation which your company will be having is good, but a bad quality product can result in the damage to the reputation. The same way, when you speak about profitability, we know that there are two ways in which profitability can be increased. For the same cost, if you are trying to increase the sales, that will help you, or you try to reduce the cost for the same selling price. So an item which is sold at say $100, but if it is costing you only $50 for making it, you make a profit of $50 per unit which you are selling. So when you try to increase the quality of it, it's always possible to increase the selling price of the item, because people might assume that the item which you are selling is of better quality than your competitors. So it can result in an increased sales. At the same time, when you're doing the right methods, that's what we learn here, it is possible to reduce the cost involved in manufacturing. So the different global markets which you will be catering to will have different standards. So one important concept which we normally mention in quality is what's called as the cost of quality or cost of poor quality. What it means is, if you are not having a proper quality control technique in your company, you will be encountering really big issues. For example, let's say I am manufacturing this mobile phone. If I do not have a quality management or quality manager in my company, then I might be sending the bad products to the customer. The customer will the customer complaints will increase, which will result in bigger issues. So the ways in which you can avoid them are by including certain aspects in your procedures. So for example, we mentioned 4 different types of quality, which is very important for you to understand. The first is called as a prevention cost. The second is called as an appraisal cost. Third is an internal cost, and the fourth is an external cost. So prevention cost of quality basically refer to the necessary training you will be providing to your employees. In case you do not have any quality manager, any quality team in your company, then you're not spending this particular money, but that is going to increase the chance of customer complaints. So to avoid the customer complaints, what you're trying to do is you have some training given to the people, the necessary documentations in place. This is called as a prevention cost. The second is called as an appraisal cost. Is basically the testing which you will be doing on the mobile phone. How do you perform the inspection? What are the machines which you are using for it? That's your appraisal cost. Third is referred to as your internal cost of failure. What it means is when you are manufacturing thousands of phones each day, now the quality manager is preventing certain phones from reaching the customer because he feels that some rework has to be done on the phone. Now, if this bad product reaches the customer, there will be customer complaints. So the quality manager actually stops it from reaching the customer, but there's a rework involved in the process. It's called as the internal cost. External cost is basically the cost which will be incurred by the company to rectify the problematic pieces which have reached the customers in terms of the warranty and so on. So this is very important for you to understand. So when we hear about quality, I'm pretty sure you might have heard about these 2 things. One is called as the ISO 9000 standards. The second is the ISO 14000 standards. So ISO 9000 standards, there are so many updates. So it's not just it started. See, lots of things have happened. 2008, 2015, 2020. That's also available. Now, what it means is you try to have all. If you say that your company is ISO 9000 certified, that creates a credibility for the products that you manufacture. So the customer believes that the company has the right quality procedures in that setting. But ISO 14001 is focusing on not the quality, but on the environmental management standards. So these 2 things are very important from a quality perspective. So till now, I have been speaking about quality. So when I say quality, say for example, the mobile phone is of good quality, I was referring to quality with respect to a product, with respect to the service which the company is making. But it's important to understand that this concept which you are going to study, the total quality management, it is not related to the particular product per se, but it is related to the quality of a organization. So the TQM as a concept, what it means is every single thing within the company is of very high standards. So it describes the culture, attitude, and the way in which the company is run. And in every single aspect of it, that's what is written. The concept of quality is spread throughout the organization. It's not just on one single product which we are discussing. It's spread across the organization from the supplier to the customer. Now, TQM, it stresses a commitment from the management to provide excellence in every single thing that they do. So if I say that Conestoga College has decided to go ahead with the TQM philosophy, the total quality management philosophy, it means all aspects of it, be it teaching, be it the way in which exams are conducted, be it the food services which are present within the college, be it the parking facilities which you will be having when you are bringing your car, be it the other aspect, the library, the computers and whatnot. Everything is trying to increase the quality so that a student who comes to Conestoga College for studying gets the best result, gets the best experience. So your experience will not be great if you just have, say, good teachers. If you want your experience to be the best, you should have the best things in everything. If you do not have a facility to purchase a coffee, if there is no Tim Hortons, or if there is no place to have your lunch in the college, then your experience is definitely not gonna be good. So this is very important, which we need to understand. So TQM refers to the quality philosophies of an organization. So there are 7 different concepts in TQM. The first is the continuous improvement. Second is Six Sigma. Third is the employee empowerment methods. Fourth is the benchmarking. Fifth is called as the JIT, or just-in-time techniques. Sixth is the Taguchi methods, and the seventh is the different TQM tools. So all these techniques, so all the concepts which you are mentioning here, I will be describing shortly. All the things actually help an organization to improve its level of operation, every single part of the organization to improve its level of performance. So never confuse quality with TQM. Quality, when we generally say, we normally speak with respect to a product, but TQM is with respect to an organization. So here is the first method of TQM, first concept, which is called as continuous improvement. What it means is, say, if I am considering a Tim Hortons as an example, and if I'm the manager of Tim Hortons, and I want to improve the performance of it, I want to see how I can improve the performance of my company, of my particular store. One thing which I can look at is, say, when I get to see that people are standing in queue for purchasing their coffee. So one way I can think is, so waiting time is almost always considered to be an issue for the customer. If you have to wait for a really long time, you may not be very happy. So one way of doing it is try to find out why there is a huge waiting time. Try to come up with techniques to overcome the waiting time. So if on an average the waiting time was, say, 10 minutes, you can take up a project and try to reduce the waiting time from say 10 minutes to 5 minutes. Now, even if, so the question is, that's the first project which you might possibly implement. Now, what happens is, once you see that, okay, now my process has improved, I have reached a 5 minute on an average waiting time. The next project which you can take up is, why should it be 5 minutes? Why I can't go to, say, 4 minutes or 3 minutes? So each step requires different set of solutions. So that's the concept, that's the philosophy of continuous improvement. What it means is, we are never getting satisfied. It's a never-ending task, effort to seek incremental improvements in your product or services or processes. It's sometimes referred to as Kaizen. Now, there are 4 steps involved in it, which is called as PDCA, or plan, do, check, and act. So you can understand it based on the example which I said. So the first thing is, you plan the change. You want to reduce the waiting time. Then you do some changes in your company. You give some training to the employees. You give some changes in the, say, systems which you are having. Then you're checking whether the modifications which you made is giving the result. If it is not giving the result, make some changes to it. But if it is giving the result, say, look for the next project, look for the next way of doing things. So this is a way in which TQM can be achieved in any company. The second method is called as Six Sigma. You might have heard about this particular technique. So Six Sigma is a more structured way of doing things, and not just like a continuous improvement. The focus is to improve the things, but you work with data. You perform lots of statistical analysis. We are not studying so much about Six Sigma in this course, but understand that it's a very, very powerful technique. Now, for using Six Sigma, we normally use a method called as DMAC, wherein we first define the project which we want to work on. We try to measure the data, then try to analyze that particular data and make modifications, make improvements in the processes based on this data analysis, and then check whether the results are in as per our expectation, do the necessary control procedures so that the new process that you develop is sustained. The third technique for achieving total quality management is called as the employee empowerment. It's not very complicated thing. So the point is getting employees involved in the improvement is very important. It is not just the role of the manager to do a quality improvement mindset. It should be imbibed on every single employee in the company. So if you are giving the necessary empowerment, if you are giving the necessary authority to the employee to come up with innovations, it will definitely increase the quality of the organization. So what's important is for this particular thing, there should be a clear-cut communication between the manager and the employees. And the manager should be open to the suggestions of the employees. It helps to create a high morale in the organization. The fourth technique in TQM is referred to as benchmarking. Benchmarking always refers to comparison. The word benchmark refers to comparison. So what it means is if say, for example, if Conestoga as a college has to improve its performance, one way in which it can do is to identify its competitors. Say I compare myself with, say, Durham or with another college, say Feng Shui, and then try to see where I am lacking. So I can try to compare with respect to the various factors that I'm looking for. The number of students who are getting enrolled each year, the number of students who are passing out of the college, the percentage of students who find jobs within the first 3 months of passing out of the course. So there could be multiple indicators that could be used for benchmarking or comparing your performance with your competitors. Only when you compare the things, you can try to improve the performance of your company. So this is that fourth method of TQM. The fifth method that we are studying is called as a just-in-time production system. We might study about this a little bit more when we are in the inventory management chapter, but just-in-time is a very powerful philosophy which helps to ensure that you are not keeping lots of inventory in your organization. So a just-in-time method always encourages to improve the process and product quality. It reduces the inventory levels, and reducing the inventory levels always help to solve the problems of the company, because having more inventory, that's the example which is shown here. When you have lots of inventory here, so say for example, you really do not know what is wrong with your company. So always try to have the just-in-time philosophy, which reduces the inventory levels in the company. Now we will quickly describe about the role of inspection in an organization. Now, when we speak about this is now coming back to the concept of a product inspection. So it involves examining things to check whether they are in a good condition or bad condition. And if we will not try to correct any issues when we do the inspection. In the inspection, we just do that yes, no thing. Now, the question is, when should we try to inspect? Should the inspection be done after the completion of this mobile phone, or should it be done at each stage of the manufacturing? That's a very important question. And when you try to perform inspection, this is two issues which can come up. One is called as a measurement error. What it means is a good product which is manufactured, but the instrument which the worker is using is not good enough. As a result, there could be errors which can happen when the output is, like, say, measured. Say the person measuring it might feel that this is not a good product, but that's due to the measurement system error. Or the other issue which can happen is called as a worker fatigue. If a worker has been working for, say, 20 hours in a day or 10 hours in a day, towards the end of the shift, due to the working setup, the worker can feel tired, which can result in issues. So it's very important that these items are being avoided, because when you're trying to come up with a TQM concept, it's important that everything is in good condition. Now, I have been speaking about TQM for the last few minutes, which is the total quality management. Now, the question is, how can we implement this in service? So from the first week I have been speaking, the service quality and service productivity are very difficult to measure than the quality of goods, because it's totally based on the perception. So think of this example, say you and your friend go to a restaurant and then sit there and order for the food, same food, and both of you have the food and then you are leaving the restaurant. And if I'm standing outside and taking the survey, one of you might say that the experience was really good. The other person might say that the experience was bad. So why? The reason being, both of you ate the same food, had the things being delivered by the same server. The person who gave the food was the same. Everything was same, but what went wrong? What went right? Because it depends on, it's basically based on the perception. So I might be comfortable with getting the food in say 10 minutes, but if your friend is not ready to wait for say 10 minutes, he wants the food faster. So there could be an issue which can come up. So the expectation, the intangible differences which is being felt. See, same way, if there is a music which you are hearing in the particular restaurant, and then I like that particular music, but my friend doesn't like it, so that can create our experiences. The experiences which can be present in service is difficult. So as a result, when you try to improve a TQ, when you try to implement TQM in a service industry, it's very important. It's very important that this operations manager understand what is that tangible component which has to be given in a right way. What are the important aspects of it? How is the service to be judged? Expectation, how to handle the different expectations of customer, and so on. Now we are towards the end of this week's lecture. So we use what's called as the different tools of TQM. So the tools for generating ideas are referred to as check sheets, scatter diagrams, and cause and effect diagrams. And the tools for organizing the data involve Pareto chart and flow charts. And the tools for identifying problems include histogram and SPC, statistical process control. So when we meet during the lecture hours, we will be studying about the cause effect diagram, the flow charts, and the Pareto chart. So these three things are the most important thing for your examination. That's all what we study from this quality management chapter. So first, we will be taking an example. I'm not doing it here. We'll be taking the example of the value stream map, which involves grabbing a cup of coffee from Tim Hortons. We will try to do this particular example. We will try to do what's called as a cause effect diagram, which involves 4 attributes, which we call as a 4M analysis: man, machine, materials, and methods. I will do an example for you, so you will get a sense of how to do the cause effect diagrams. And the last thing is what's called as a Pareto chart. So Pareto chart involves mapping the things in a particular way, and that also we will be doing in our class. So these 3 TQM tools we are studying in this particular course. So with this, I am finishing the discussion of quality management. Thank you.